All right, folks, we have an update here. In my video from earlier today, I told you that we're kind of afraid that Mitch McConnell might very well put $2,000 stimulus checks on the Senate floor, but also combine the $2,000 stimulus checks in the same piece of legislation along with a Section 230 repeal, as well as a committee to investigate election fraud. Those are the three things Trump said he wanted in his statement. Because, folks, if McConnell puts something like that on the Senate floor, you think Democrats are going to go for that? They're not. And it looks like this is exactly what Mitch McConnell is going to do. We have a new bill from Mitch McConnell. We're going to go over it right now. All right, new bill from Mitch McConnell to amend the Internal Revenue Code to increase the additional 2020 recovery rebates. That's increasing the stimulus checks from $600 to $2,000, to repeal Section 230, and for other purposes. And these other purposes, as we will see in the bill, is election fraud. This is exactly what Trump said here in his statement. The Senate will start the process for a vote that increases checks to $2,000, repeals Section 230, and starts an investigation into voter fraud. I strongly suspect that before Trump signed the stimulus bill, he had a conversation with Mitch McConnell, whereby Trump told Mitch, I'm going to sign this thing, but if I do that, you have to put a piece of legislation on the Senate floor that includes those three things. And right here, folks, we have this piece of legislation. All right, so Mr. McConnell introduced the following bill. First part, increase in stimulus checks. It's saying that subsection A1 of the $600 stimulus check bill will be amended to, instead of $600, put $2,000, and instead of $1,200, put $4,000. Okay, so if we go over here to the $600 bill, what's Section A1? Section A1 only has to do with adult non-dependents, okay? So what this is saying here, what McConnell's new bill is saying, for the adult non-dependents, they're going to get $2,000 instead of $600 and $4,000 instead of $1,200 if they're a married couple filing jointly, right? McConnell's bill here says nothing about subsection A2, which is the dependent children under the age of 17. Okay, so this is consistent with what Trump said in his statement, right? Because what Trump wanted in his statement was a family of four receiving $5,200, right? $2,000 for each of the parents, $600 each for the kids, and that's exactly what Mitch McConnell's doing here. Okay, in his new bill, he's only increasing the stimulus payment amount for the adult non-dependents in that scenario. This section here just has to do with the SSN requirement. That's all this is, just the SSN requirement here. But there's no mention of subsection A2 here, A2, which has to do with the dependents. Okay, so that is what Mitch McConnell is pushing for the stimulus checks. Section 2 here is just a flat-out repeal of Section 230. Section 230, the Communications Act of 1934, is repealed. Section 230 is what protects, large social media sites like Facebook and Twitter, basically giving them immunity for what third parties, like individuals like you and me, publish on their sites, right? Trump feels that these big social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, maybe even search engines like Google, are biased against him and biased against the right. And so he wants to he views repealing Section 230 as a way to take away some of this immunity that they have for what's published on their platforms, which he would see as a victory for himself. Okay, Democrats will not go for a repeal of Section 230. Okay, they will not. Right? This is a poison pill. Okay, so now what is McConnell able to do? McConnell's able to say, okay, yeah, I put $2,000 stimulus checks on the Senate floor, right? Like Trump wants, like Pelosi wants. Oh, but yeah, in the same piece of legislation, yeah, we're also calling for a repeal of Section 230, and that's not all. Here's more Section 230 stuff. It's more technicality stuff, technical fixes. And then here, look at this, Section 3, 2020 Bipartisan Advisory Committee. There's established within the Election Assistance Committee the 2020 Bipartisan Advisory Committee, composed of 18 members. 9 shall be appointed by the Republican leader in the Senate. Okay, so that's basically Mitch McConnell. And 9 are appointed by the Speaker of the House, which is Nancy Pelosi. Okay, and what are these folks supposed to do? Where's the talk about it? Yeah, duties. So what are they going to do? They're going to study the integrity and administration of the general election for federal office held in November 2020 and make recommendations to Congress to improve the security, integrity, and administration of federal elections, right? The matter studied by the advisory committee shall include the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on the administration of the general election for federal office held in November 2020, the election practices adopted by federal, state, and local governments in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, including practices that undermine the security and integrity of the election, and practices that strengthen the security and integrity of the election, the laws, rules, policies, activities, strategies, and practices regarding mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, and vote-by-mail procedures, right? Because, Trump, he has big suspicions about, the mail-in votes and, the secret votes and all this stuff. Right, so it kind of just goes on and on the same. Right, so basically, folks, in a nutshell, we have Mitch McConnell is going to put legislation on the Senate floor with $2,000 stimulus checks, Section 230 repeal, and a committee to investigate voter fraud in the 2020 election. Those last two, poison pills to the Democrats, right? They do not want Section 230 repealed, and they do not believe there was widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election. Okay, is this the end of the story for $2,000 stimulus checks? Is this how McConnell kills them? Right, with this piece of legislation, we'll see, but this is definitely not encouraging news that this is what we're seeing from the Senate Majority Leader. Folks, I was about to hit stop recording, and I just saw this come through. Statement from Chuck Schumer on McConnell's bill. Statement from Senate Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer. Senator McConnell knows how to make $2,000 survival checks reality, and he knows how to kill them. If Senator McConnell tries loading up the bipartisan House-passed Cash Act, that's a standalone $2,000 stimulus check bill that passed the House, with unrelated partisan provisions that will do absolutely nothing to help struggling families across the country, and by this, of course, Schumer means Section 230 repeal and an investigation into the 2020 elections, it will not pass the House and cannot become law. Any move like this by Senator McConnell would be a blatant attempt to deprive Americans of a $2,000 survival check. Will Senate Republicans go along with Senator McConnell's cynical gambit, or will they push him to give a vote on the standalone House-passed Cash Act? So that's where we're at, folks. We have the House having passed $2,000 stimulus checks. We have Mitch McConnell putting $2,000 stimulus checks in a piece of legislation that has a couple other things that Democrats will not like. And remember, folks, in order to get McConnell to get his bill through the Senate, he only needs 60. And if it does pass the Senate, which I think is a long shot, I think he just wants, to go on record that Republicans voted in favor of $2,000 stimulus checks, right? I think that's his whole intent here before the Georgia elections. Even if it does, by some miracle, pass the Senate, it's not passing the House. Schumer just said it. It's obvious to anyone. All right, folks, now I'm really done, unless something comes up here real quick. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.